What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the LAN Party Podcast. It is Tuesday, August 13th, I think is the date. We're actually, surprisingly,
On time?
pretty much, technically late, but for our standards on time.
Yeah, close enough.
Which is much of a surprise to me because me and Nate have been working the past 2 hours on redoing my brakes. Which doesn't sound like a process, but I'm putting new rotors on and I'm painting my calipers, so those all have to be prepped and sanded and cleaned and then primed and painted, and it's multiple coats of each. So we were only about 80% done with the front. We haven't touched the back yet, so we're going right back to that after this. My hands are filthy, my clothes are filthy, I'm hot and sweaty, it's miserable outside. I think they said today the temps are supposed to be like 105 after heat index. So I'm glad I was off today. I spent my day off from working outside. We won't be live tonight because I switched shifts with somebody tomorrow. I'll be playing, but I'm not going to stream because by the time I start streaming, the podcast or the stream's only going to be a couple hours. I'm working at 7 tomorrow, but the new content drops for Sea of Thieves overnight tonight, so we will be playing Sea of Thieves tomorrow night.
What's the new stuff?
Dark Relics is the name of the new event. It's not like new stuff per se. Just a new like Build Rat adventure sort of thing. So it should be cool.
Oh, speaking of Sea of Thieves, I did read through the RPG books. I don't think it's gonna be that complicated.
No,
It's pretty much if I were running it, I kind of sit back, let you all figure out what you want to do, and then throw in the occasional challenge.
I'm working on that. Actually, the past couple days I've been in and out trying to import all that to Sea of Thieves. Or not Sea of Thieves, tabletop. The problem is, and Nick knows this, you probably don't. Those books aren't short. The rule book, 89 pages.
It's actually not that bad.
Well, for a rule book, maybe. But when you have to import every one of those pages into tabletop, it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And that's for one book. I have 3 books to import.
Yep, the big one is the Game Master's Guide. It's like 160, real close. But don't worry about reading that one. You probably won't ever have to. Maybe.
Well, I sent that file to you, Tyler, and John.
Mm-hmm.
So all of you will be able to kind of read up on it. Since you all have done that before, you all are more familiar with kind of the RPG style.
Yep. I think the third book is just lore.
Is that where all the maps are? Because you said something about maps.
Maybe. Oh, no, wait. It's the
Book of Voyages or whatever?
That's it. That's what the third one is. Yes. Because it actually has its own, story you can follow, which is nice.
Which is, okay, that makes sense. So, because we've actually got the assets already for the game. Fortunately, I don't have to import all that crap. Because that would require, a knowledge of modeling, because I would have to set up some models, but I don't have to do that, so.
Thankfully, there's not a whole lot of models. Because, like I said, it just uses D6 for everything.
Yeah, but my OCD ass would want them to look a little rugged and aged, and so I'd have to have uneven edges that look like, pirate dice. Plus, it's not included in the list because it's a fucking PDF, but the files don't have the actual dice included. Because while it is a D6, it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's symbols.
Yeah.
And
which those are probably going to take some people some getting used to.
Well, fortunately, there's a cheat sheet in that zip that I sent you.
Yep.
I say cheat sheet. I don't know why they called it that. It's not cheating. It just helps you know what each of those means.
It's a handy guide. I would.
Yeah.
I would make that.
I would have called it a dice guide.
Yep.
But be looking for that Sea of Thieves RPG on the streams probably within the next couple weeks, I would say. Because importing it is not a hard process. It just takes a lot of time.
When's the actual book physical thing come out?
October or something.
Okay.
It's a while. But I plan on running most of the campaigns in tabletop anyways.
Yeah, just because we have more people there.
Right. And we can play with more people online. Tyler's just going to have to get the fuck over it.
Like I said, I told him it was like borrow his brother's computer.
He works at Ford. Buy one.
Seriously.
That was one of the first things you got when you started working at Ford. It was a gaming
Didn't I get it
computer.
before that?
Did you?
I might have.
You had the Alienware.
You had the Alienware for a while, but I don't think you had your current rig before you worked at Ford.
Or at least until you got to Gotta Go and made just a little bit more money.
I gotta go. I actually made more at Gotta Go than I did my first year or two at Ford.
I can see that.
Well, I also worked 60 to like 70 hours a week.
Plus mechanics make stupid money.
But he needs to get a computer so he can play stuff like that. Because I'd like for him to be involved in these things, but because it's easier to organize something like that. Nobody has to go anywhere. Everybody can stay home. It's easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we were just talking about you.
And your lack of a computer.
Well, I was about ready to come up here and talk about the lack of cars outside.
Mine's down at Nate's house. Nate's is down at Nate's house.
So we piled into mine right
Yep.
up here.
Nice.
If you'd have been here at the beginning of the podcast, you know, like a good co-host, you would find out that we've been working on my brakes all day.
So what have you been working on all day?
My brakes.
Oh, that's really neat.
Putting my new rotors on, painting my calipers, getting a contact high.
Nice. That's always a good time. It's always a good time.
We're not going out to eat.
Why?
Because I want to finish my brakes.
Oh.
That said, Nate said we might still have something like brought to his house to eat. So we can all just kind of pile that. I said, you know, today'd be the perfect day for a cookout, not because of the temperatures outside wouldn't be comfortable, but all you'd have to do is put the patties in aluminum foil and set them on the concrete, and you give it a couple seconds, and you got a cooked patty.
No shit.
Yeah, probably. It's probably not too far off from the truth.
No, that's what I was using the outside as an oven, like to bake my paint on. I'm not even kidding. Like I would paint it on, and I'd put them out in the sun, and they'd dry within minutes.
If it works, it works.
I mean, why overthink things? Why spend more time waiting for paint to dry when you can just plop it in the sun? Because I found something out. Heat index, you all know that that's not just like the temperature outside. That's your, obviously that's your temperature with humidity, your feels like temperature, but that's in the shade.
Huh.
So when it says feels like 105, that's what it feels like in the shade.
That's your stand there and sweat temperature.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that is? Not cool. That's what that is.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can just go ahead and head back home now.
Well, I'm just saying. It's really not cool.
I can't tell if you were trying to be punny or if like that was an unintentional pun, but
That was a total accident, by the way. I didn't. You were just like, go outside. I'm like, why?
then you're like, oh.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get it.
Oh, so anybody that's watching the podcast, it was here last week, knows that my cousin was in town. He went home. Sunday was his flight out. But we went to the drive-in Saturday night. We talked about this last week on the podcast. And he looked on the website earlier that day. He's like, do they have an alcohol policy? I'm like, I don't know. I'm pretty sure I've seen people there drinking beers, but I don't know. And he went to the website, and he's like, it doesn't say anything about alcohol. So I'm like, all right, well, worst comes to worst, they just tell you to put it away. And so we went and got snacks at Kroger on the way down, and he bought a bottle of wine because he was going to get something else, but he's like, nah, I don't feel like getting wasted. So he got a bottle of wine.
Listen, you can get pretty lit off one bottle
It
of
was
wine.
an 8% wine.
Drink.
It was a
the
pretty
whole
light
fucking
wine.
bottle.
But anyways, and Nate and I laughed way harder at this than maybe we should have, but we were in the line to get in, and they have the sign with all the rules, and it's like no pets, blah 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 blah, and then it says no alcoholic beverages, and Jared's like, dude, they should put that on their website. He's like, that fucking sucks, man, come on. And
Where was this at?
Georgetown.
Okay.
Were you just like, listen, man, just keep it in the back?
No, it gets better. So we go up and we park, and when we park, me and Nate decided I was going to go to the restroom, and Nate wanted to go get a drink. And I'm walking past all these people, and I see a bunch of, like, fountain drinks, and I had a genius idea. And so I went back to the car after I went to the bathroom. I'm like, Jared, I have an idea. He's like, what? And I'm like, they're not going to question you if you're drinking out of, like, a fountain drink cup. And he's like, oh, dude, you're right. And he gets up, and he walks back to the concessions after me and Nate both told him that they were packed. I'd say a good 30, 35 minutes goes by. And Jared comes back up with a small cup. Like, just, it's a small. And Nate looked at him, he's like, you waited in line for like a half hour for that small cup? And Nate didn't know he got it for alcohol, because Nate was not there when this happened. And Jared's like, hell yeah, dude. And then he sits down in his chair. He just blankly stares at both me and Nate. He takes the lid off and he pours it out in the grass. And then he gets up and goes to fill it. And Nate and I just started laughing our ass off, because, like, he had this just look on his face. He went, pop. And then stood up and went to go fill it.
Nice.
I was really confused though. Like, I thought he just went and got a drink and waited 30 minutes for that drink and then just came back and poured it out. I'm like, what? I was so confused.
You see him pull out his wine bottle and you're like,
Yeah.
It was priceless. Absolutely hysterical. And then whenever we were leaving, they were playing horror movies this weekend, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Hobbs and Shaw was the only not horror movie that they were showing. And they were showing that Crawl movie on screen 1 as we were driving out. And we were like halfway down the hill and something scary happened and Jared just went, ah! Like really loud out the window.
Nice.
Yeah, he was quite the character. Jared is quite the character though. Like, if anybody like knows him from Sea of Thieves, you only know like part of Jared. He is quite the character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had a good time climbing. You guys should have went.
I was working.
Well, Nate should have went.
Hmm?
Should have went climbing last week.
He was also busy, I believe.
Yeah, doing dumb stuff.
No, he was helping his dad with working on cars.
I came across an article title, and one of the captions is Americans will measure with anything but the metric system. And it's a sinkhole roughly the size of 6 to 7 washing machines has closed the northbound lanes to State Line Road near 100th Street in Kansas City, Missouri. 6 to 7 washing machines.
Why couldn't you just say
Why
like...
would you use that as a measuring
Why wouldn't you
unit?
just say like 20 to 30 feet?
And wasn't there British captions like Americans will measure anything in
You will measure with
Except
anything except
the
the
metrics.
metric system. It's like, why? Why?
And I mean, well, yeah, obviously that's not the metric system, but neither is the U.S. standard system. Why would you use washing machines and not feet? That's still not metric. Why
why-
is the first
why
thing
is-
you jump to?
6 to 7 washing machines. Like, what? Why?
This is what I was talking to Monkey last night
What
because
if, What if you could be like about the size of a car?
Yeah. Like so I was talking with Monkey, I got him involved. He's interested in like helping with this Space Engineers like Machinima mini series that I'm conceptualizing.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about kind of building that universe, and he's like, instead of just building companies and then, explaining what they do, he's like, build it from the ground up and blah, 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 blah. And he's like, so, you land on this planet and you don't know what it's called, but the first thing you see is a cockatoo-looking creature. And I'm like, that's the first animal you think of? Like, that was what snapped in your head, not dog, cat, mouse, hamster, snake, pigeon, cockatoo. That was the first. And then he's like, and then you name the people the cockatrice or whatever, and
Nice.
And then he was talking about how their ships would be shaped, and he's like, they would be bird-shaped ships. And Nate was muted the whole time, and he clicked back in just to be like, is it sad that I think I already have a design in mind for a ship like that?
And then he's like, I actually already built 3.
Speaking of space engineers, I actually made a successful script with the script building tool. It actually functions exactly how it's supposed to. It's a little bit of a lengthy script, but it works. It essentially scans 4 cryopods on the ship. And if the cryopod is activated, it turns the light from green to red, or if it's occupied. And if it's not occupied, the light goes from red to green. Jared was berating enough to call it a porta potty script.
I mean,
It was a little heartbreaking, actually. The porta potty script. What the
You know
fuck?
what you know how to shorten that? PAPS.
It's Paps is at it again! Old Paps. What was it? Pump action pain stick? Yeah, from Fallout 76. That's what Nate named his shotgun. Old Paps.
nice.
The old pump action pain stick.
But yeah, we're starting to kind of I'm now entering the writing scenario or the writing situation for that a miniseries, and I don't know how much you were actually paying attention to us as opposed to raging over the advanced rotors that you were tinkering with yesterday, because me and Monkey were talking about this, miniseries, and we were brainstorming and talking ideas, and Nate in the meantime's trying to make a VTOL system work, and all of the rotors are called left front fucking rotor, goddamn fucking right rear rotor, fucking left rear rotor, goddamn motherfucking right rotor on the front. And he had them all showing up on the HUD, and I just see, it says 6 friendly signals, and I'm like, what is that? And then I get closer, and I just see a plethora of curse words in front of me.
Beautiful.
Nate was getting pretty mad. But Monkey actually had some... So the original idea that I had was we were going to build this shuttle, and this was going to be the opening to... And we found a name for the shuttle, the Columbus. I feel like that's a pretty appropriate name for a research and exploration ship.
So is the Enterprise.
Yeah, but the Enterprise is clearly taken.
Or the Voyager.
Also clearly taken.
Yeah, but they're also taken from actual history.
Yeah, well, the Columbus wasn't. It's taken from actual history, but it's taken from the person that was exploring, not the ship they were using. And no, I'm not going to name my spaceship the Mayflower.
Why not?
Because I'm going to have to make a rock to crash it into.
Yep. So, the Columbus is in final production, I would say. It's a nice little ship. It's a big ship built on a small grid. So, it's very compact, but, feels livable. I changed my lighting, when it came to the game. I don't just plop lights down and rename them and call it a day. I actually replicate the light colors based on real-world light values. So, this is warm white that is in my room now, and I went and researched the RGB codes commonly associated with this light tone. So, living quarters now have, a warm white hue instead of just surgery room white all the time.
Bright xenon white.
The cryo chambers have a bluish tint light to them to kind of emulate this cool blue tone. The medical station is just a regular white, but that's because it's the medical station. But I did all the lighting, the interior. Nate decorated the interior. It looks really nice. Automated cockpit door. There's an automated light above the armory, so when you walk up to the armory, it lights up the armory. And then when you walk out, it turns it off automatically. But the original idea was you'd have a crew of 4 on that ship sent out by whatever organization they work for to research and scout a certain planet to see if A, it is habitable, B, if it is occupied and habitable, and C, if all of the other things above fail, is it valuable, is it plentiful and a valuable resource? Like, is it have something that we can use? And they go and they're exploring and they get ambushed by some enemy faction, whether it's space pirates or some enemy war faction, whatever. And they have a bunch of valuable intel on this planet, and so they try to jump out. And their jump drive's damaged, so it dumps them out in empty space with little to no power. So they follow protocol, which is shut down all systems except life support, and cryostasis, and go to cryosleep, and then turn on a distress beacon. And originally, my plan was going to be that would be where the series ended. Like, the series would end with the camera panning out as they kind of drift off into space, and it would fade to black. And then the next series would start with them drifting into space, but then, like, out of the corner of the screen, you see the Unity just kind of in the background, and they're drifting towards the Unity. And I'm like, that would be pretty cool. And Monkey thought the same thing, but he said, you're kind of... He's like, the Starliners, the way you present them are supposed to be like these legend ships. Like, they are the end-all, be-all. If you approach them, it has to be monumental. I'm like, well, yeah. He's like, if you just have them drift into the Unity, he's like, you've done the Unity no justice. It has no it has no purpose yet in this universe. So he's like, why don't you have it, instead of them drifting into the Unity, have them crash land on a planet or a moon? And then the Unity operates for a certain faction, whoever they may be, some federation in space or anything. And word gets to the Unity, or to their owners, higher-ups, that there has been a valuable ship crashed on a planet that could have valuable intel from a faction that is no more, and it's being raided by scavvers. So they send a squadron of fighters down to the surface to dispatch all the scavvers, and they find that the people in the ship are still alive in cryosleep. And so they bring those people out of cryosleep, start talking to them, and then it brings it up, they take them up to space, and you get this really cool shot where, like, you see the transport ships and the combat freighters, and then you look up and you just see the Unity, and the center of all of it is like the crown jewel of the fleet. And I'm like, that seems like a better way to introduce the Unity than just, oh, here it is. Here's Big Ship.
That's probably true.
And then it establishes, potential good guys and bad guys. It gives that faction that's on the Unity a purpose in the universe other than just, hey, look, there's a derelict ship. Let's pick it up and see what's on it. And then you could obviously, we brainstormed a lot, but I'm really excited to start working on it. After tinkering with the replay tool, though, I'm not excited about working on it at the same time, because the replay tool is going to take a lot of time. So I'm going to have to kind of outline it, but my first order of business is going to be building the faction that the Columbus is flying for from the ground up. So, like, what are they for? What are they doing? Who is behind the scenes making it work? Yada, yada, yada. And then I did come up with a name of the industries that developed the Columbus, though. Frontier Enterprises is the builders of... and Nate's the owner of all these building factions. He has a monopoly, but in space, Earth laws don't apply. Isn't that right?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
He owns all of the construction companies. He makes bank. And it just seems as if he's the only one working. So there's still a lot to be done. And obviously we're still building ships to do in the survival thing as well. Like this, Nate doesn't think it will work, but I think if we work on it a little bit more, we can make this shuttle work in survival as well. So, it's all still being used to work on survival. I'm getting him out of building houses and villages and towns and cities by saying that the people that are in this universe, this star system, it's kind of a new frontier for them. They've never been here, so we don't know what is here. That way I don't have to build cities on 25 planets.
Yeah, fair enough.
We can build them as we go. But, yeah, that's what I've been working on in Space Engineers. I'm doing the brainstorming and Nate's doing the building. And the raging. Much of the raging. Last night I thought he was going to punch his computer through. Rotors, man. Rotors and pistons. Just doesn't work.
No.
So, will you be able to use the regular rotors for a VTOL system?
Maybe. I don't know if we have a modded one that'll work. I don't really use the vanilla one because you'd have one little tiny block holding this giant thruster. It's not very realistic.
No, but maybe you could make the one little tiny block look bigger by surrounding it with stuff.
I'd be able to use blast doors.
I've got some modded VTOLs that use rotors.
Yeah, you've got the vector thrust thing.
Probably.
That mod. Tried using that mod, but I think Did you make the engine compartments on that shuttle out of heavy armor as well?
What do you mean the engine compartments?
Like the little shells?
Yeah, the VTOL things, yeah.
Yeah, so what I think has happened is when we started building that ship, when I started building it, I wanted the outside to be heavy armor. And when he started building it, he kind of kept with the heavy armor all around, and I just kept with it as well. And so what we ended up with was a very fat, small ship that weighs a bunch. So it can't hold itself up in atmosphere with, I think I put 8 thrusters on 4 on one side, 4 on the other, just to see if I could get it to hover in atmosphere and work with the VTOL system. That wasn't enough. And the VTOL system only provides 4 thrusters on either side. So if 4 thrusters on the ship can't control it, 4 VTOL thrusters ain't going to cut it either. So I went in and I trimmed weight. I chopped out a bunch of floors and put light armor down instead. I chopped out a bunch of interior walls and put light armor in. Tried to save some weight. So we're going to keep trying to trim fat on it and see if maybe then we can make the VTOL system work. Because I love that VTOL system. Like, it uses the WASD buttons to keep the ship from falling. It's just a matter of making it work.
Yeah. And a couple of the modded chips I have, I didn't like the way they set up their scripts because you have to sit there and you have to constantly press.
Yeah, you have to override all the thrust.
Yeah.
And I hate that. That's one of the reasons I like that VTOL script so much, is because WASD controls you don't have to do anything else. You don't have to be like, I want the back thrusters to have more power. Click, 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 click. I want the rear thruster, the rear thrusters to have less power. Click, 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 click. I don't want to do that. Yeah. And I don't want to manually adjust all my rotors. I don't want to fuck with all that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like if you wanted to get an actual flight mode, you had to press 3 different buttons, and it didn't tell you which ones to press in sequence to figure out how to actually get it to work in true VTOL mode.
Yep.
And even then, it's like if you were going forward and then stopped, like the rotors would go from, back to front, and if they broke, they'd sit there and spin, shake your ship apart.
Yeah. The VTOL, like the vector thrust script, still works similarly to that, but more intuitively.
Yeah.
So it actually, there's a lot. But that shuttle is getting close to done. Like, I started painting the interior today. Hopefully that doesn't change.
Yeah, he'll come along and is like, I don't like it. Change it.
No, I'm not worried about the paint changing. I'm worried about the interior, shape changing.
That's kind of what I mean.
Because he's been throwing a hissy fit about the lights that I put on the inside. Because the interior lights are long, you've got the light and then they've got a little stick at the end of them. And I put them in the ceiling, and the ceiling is made of half blocks. So you've got little kind of bumps in the ceiling. He's like, those are bothering me. And I'm like, well, get the fuck over it. Because they're here to stay. Man, what else is there to talk about? Apparently there's an exploit in GTA 5's, this is also something I was talking about with Monkey last night, because apparently he plays GTA 5, and I told him that I was sorry for him. There's a current exploit in GTA 5's casino update that essentially allows you to always win bets on horse races.
Nice.
It's a little program that runs alongside the game, and essentially it will automatically put in the lowest bet on any horse, and then as the game's going on, it will detect which horse is going to win, and it will put the highest bet on that horse. So if you lose, you only lose $100. But if you win, you get several thousands to several 10,000s. So, yeah, it's tempting, but I don't know if it's enough tempting. Rockstar robbed everything from me.
I've actually been half tempted to re-download it just to play the story again.
I really like GTA Online. I really do. I know I've said it 8,000 times, but I really like that game. I hate Rockstar. That's it. I hate the inflated economy. I hate their attitude towards everything. And I hate the balance of the people they ban and the people they don't. That irks me the most. Because you'll walk in there and people be blowing people's houses up. People will teleport into their houses and mod themselves guns so they can kill people in their own apartments. They'll blow their cars up. They'll blah, 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 blah. Those people don't get banned. It's the people that drop money that get banned.
Oh, yeah. I remember we were on a
Because
public...
you're costing them money.
Well,
They don't care if you're not having fun in the game. They just care if
I
you're
know.
getting money.
You know, we were on a public server. It's like... It had probably 5 monitors at least. Pretty full server. Yeah, they're all flying around doing stupid shit.
I bet none of them got banned.
Because they were doing it for a good while. But none of them dropped any money. But...
Well, I mean, I had been modding for quite a while when I did it too. Like, by the time I had dropped money on you, like, the night I dropped money on you is when I got banned. But before then, I had been modding for like a good 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
And, it finally caught up to me, but, I don't think it had anything to do with me spawning in cargo planes. I don't think it had anything to do with me spawning in cars. It had everything to do with me spawning in billions of dollars. Well, you know what, Rockstar? Kiss my ass.
yeah. You only cost them like $13,000.
Yeah, well, you know what? Maybe don't inflate your economy so much. And now apparently they're making a bunch of people mad because they put the yachts on sale for like 85% off. And so all those people that spent $13 million on their yachts are like, are you fucking kidding me? $13 million? And now you're like, you can have it for like 4.
Let's say I still don't have enough money to buy a yacht.
It's like 150 real life dollars spent on the boat.
How much do you have now? I know you said they took a lot away.
Under $1 million.
Wow. Yeah, you're broke.
They left me like I said, they left me all my shit.
Yeah, they won't take your stuff. They'll take your money though.
But they took like 90% of my money. Well, that's not true. I actually spent a lot.
Yeah, you did, because you were spending it faster than I could drop it for you, which sounds pathetic on Nick's part until you realize that he was only buying like 1 or 2 things at a time. That's how expensive stuff is in that game.
It was all properties.
Yeah.
I bought like 5 cars.
Mm-hmm. The motorcycle, you bought the motorcycle thing. That was expensive. You bought the executive office. That was expensive. You bought the garages. That was expensive. The house was expensive. The apartment was expensive. And you bought 5 cars that were probably not that expensive, but all the other stuff was expensive.
Yeah, no, I think the most expensive car I've got is the classic Corvette, or the Coquette, as they call it.
Yeah.
And that's only...
That's just over $100,000, I think. I don't think it was very expensive.
Yeah, like I said, not very expensive cars.
That was the beginning of the end. That update. That came with Ill-Gotten Gains Part 1. That was the beginning of the downfall.
Yeah.
Because that's when they started to realize that they could get away with $2 million priced cars.
Yeah.
Speaking of microtransactions, this is purely speculation. I have no reason to believe one way or the other. My suspicion is that within Sea of Thieves, you can expect pets and those emotes and exclusive liveries or cosmetics that they were talking about in the Pirate Emporium. I suspect next month, because I will say that and they've said it too, they've been working with insiders on some of the pet features. I've seen some of those patch notes. I haven't played them, but I would expect that they'll be ready to release it next month with their new Build Rat journey, mission, whatever. So crossing my fingers, because I'd really like to have myself some pets. It'd be a lot of fun, as well as the unique emotes. I'm hoping those make it into the game next week. We won't be streaming, again, Sea of Thieves tonight. We will be there tomorrow because the Dark Relics update drops tonight. So I know what is coming in that update, but since I don't know what they've made public, I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want to accidentally breach the NDA. Should be fun, though. Based off of what I've seen in Insiders, it's going to be really cool. I will just go ahead and say, though, whether this is a breach of the NDA or not, people that are frustrated with the combat situation, patience. I do believe that is being fixed tonight.
Neat.
The hit registration and the sword combat being a little wonky.
How did that get so out of whack?
I don't know if one of their updates modified something in the water, because it was the water algorithm that was causing problems.
Okay.
Is what they said. And I can understand that because everybody in this room's played Sea of Thieves, and everybody in this room knows how intense that water looks. Like how...
Yeah, and also making it effectively the same on every server.
Right.
With two boats next to each other, that they're going over the same waves, doing the same stuff at the same time.
And unlike a lot of games with sailing mechanics, the waves actually affect the boat.
Affects
you know,
your aim.
It affects your aim. It affects the ship's aim. It affects your angle of trajectory. It has tons of implications on the game. So I am not surprised that is the cause of the problem. I'm just glad that they think they've got a fix for it. Hopefully that comes out tomorrow, and hopefully John is restored to his original self.
Hopefully.
I have been doing a couple of black powder runs solo on a sloop. It has not been fun. Because I still had to do 3 more Reapers runs, which are with the Reapers markup. And as a solo sloop, you're a target to literally everybody.
Yeah.
And the first one I did, I was pretty happy with myself. I didn't dig up anything. I just tapped them and went because I just want the commendations so I can get the cosmetics and be done. So I tapped, and I showed up at this fort, and there was a galleon chasing me. I got to the fort. I tapped everything. The last thing I tapped was a stronghold keg, and those motherfuckers rolled up. They dropped their anchor, and they started shooting at my ship. Like, I don't care about the ship. It's going down. I don't need the ship because I'm just going to go to the next island and tap everything else and go. So I dug that stronghold keg up, and I swam it right over to their boat that was still anchored. And I let go of it, and it went up, and I thought it was going to miss, and then white light. And their ship just bobbed out of the water, and then it came back down, climbed up on the ladder, killed 3 of them. Ship sank, tried to kill the 4th, but I didn't have any food, so he shot me in the face, and I died. But you know what? Fuck them. Guess who didn't bother me again the rest of the night?
Yeah, this is the thing if you're trying to bother somebody doing a fucking powder keg run.
You got to know what to expect.
You know they have plenty of ammo to fuck your shit up.
And not
And
even
if they're fucking suicidal about it too,
Yeah.
then
I don't care. I'll
fucking sink my own boat. I don't care.
I had no use for that boat. It had starter level supplies. It didn't have any loot on it. It wasn't going to have any loot on it. It didn't even have paint on it. It was a plain Jane sloop. Sink it. I don't give a shit. But just know that it's gonna come with repercussions.
You don't mess with the wrong boy. Guess who has 2 super kegs?
I got a kick out of that. But now all I have to do is a Reaper's run, or not a Reaper's run, but a Black Powder run of Shores of Plenty and of the Wilds. And I will have all the commendations I need to buy all the unique cosmetics. And I did the Ancient Isles one last night. That was a pain because there was a brig crew that was being difficult. I even told them, like, guys, I don't have any loot. Like, you can have all the loot on this next island. I don't want it. And they're like, nah, drop your anchor. And then I'm like, nah. Why should I? I jumped off at an island, let the ship go on by. They sent somebody to the island to join me. He chased me around the island for a minute or two. He kept pointing his blunderbuss at me, but he wouldn't shoot at me. And I think he was trying to talk to me, but he kept pointing his blunderbuss at me. So, Finally, I just pulled out my pistol, shot him in the face, swung at him twice, and killed him.
Please go away.
Go away!
Go away.
What else is there to talk about?
Mm.
Nate, you've been characteristically quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Both these two have.
No, he's been uncharacteristically quiet. He's been characteristically quiet.
Well, it's just a slow day for me, as you could tell by me being
Oh, well, we talked about it at the beginning, so I don't know if we actually talked about it on... We did talk about it on stream briefly. Did you read any of that file that I sent you?
The
Sea of Thieves RPG?
No, I haven't really had time, but I'll dig into it more.
Pathetic.
What? Jeez.
It's a lot to read.
Have you read through it?
No,
all the
because
way?
I'm not going to be the GM.
Well, I mean, you should still read the rule book.
Nah, I'm going to rely on Nick and John for that.
You should still read the rule book.
Look, I am the one who has to import the rule book into the game.
Listen,
Somebody else can do the reading.
So he has to
Listen.
read it while he's importing it.
if you're gonna play the game as a person who plays role playing games, it's important to know what the rules are.
So you don't end up like us at our D&D sessions where we're constantly fighting over the rule book because none of us can remember shit.
Okay, well, look, here is the thing. Whether I read it or not is irrelevant. It has to be in the game for it to work first.
Isn't it 89 pages?
The rule
Book one.
Book one is.
Gee, wait,
Nick
there's more
said
than
the-
one book?
Yeah. There's book one, which is kind of setting up the
I can't
game.
even remember what I ate for breakfast. How am I going to remember?
Well,
89
you
pages?
don't
Well,
have
you
to-
just get an
Look,
overview of
The books
what it is.
tell you who needs to remember what. Like, it will have in the book, it'll be like, if you're just playing the game, you can pretty much ignore this. This is for game masters. Player characters need to know this and this and this and this and this. Game masters need to know this and this and this and this and this.
Honestly, only about half of the first book is actually relevant to players.
And then the 120-something page book, I don't think you really need to pay any attention to at all.
No,
The,
that's the Game Master's
That's the
Guide.
Game Master Guide.
Yeah, the
And even the third one,
That's
you actually
just
don't
missions.
yeah, you don't even have to read that one either.
You just have to kind of, it's kind of, you pick from it when you need it. Like,
yeah.
it's
Even
not
then,
a-
it's still mostly for the Game Master.
yeah.
it looks like on book one, for the table of contents, it looks like page 68 would be useful for all players, which is the pirate glossary, which should be very
Like
interesting.
Terminology and shit.
Yeah, I glanced
And then
over that.
page 70 is player advice, and then 78 is rules guide. So I guess that's a brief.
So 78, you're talking 11 pages that you might actually have to worry about.
Yeah.
That's doable.
Because a lot of that first book is actually like the introductory
Yeah,
mission.
it introduces the game.
Yeah, that gets you all to figure out the Avast system.
Yeah, there's 3 books. There's the Book of Pirates, which is book 1, the 89 pages. Then there's the Book of Lore, which I think is
Third one.
the third one, and that's the Game Master Guide.
No.
And the Book of Missions
No, okay, the Book of Lore is Game Master. The Book of Missions
is the
third.
one with all the maps and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's your voyages, like pre-planned setup.
Right.
Yeah, I've already found a few rules via run it that I'm going to change a little bit, because every time you die, you lose a legendary die.
I don't know what that means, so
Your legendary die is every die you roll for your challenges. You get one for completing a voyage. And this isn't like going out and it's like bring a chicken back and get a die. No. This is multi-part quests. We're talking damn near Athena run level shit. That's a voyage. Or you can buy it, but they get more and more expensive.
I think this is going to be loads of fun, though, in tabletop. Like, this is
Yeah,
why
it
you
should
need to
be.
get a computer.
Listen, all right?
Or borrow your brother's. Or tell him to get it because it's got VR.
There you go.
He plays, playing Tabletop Simulator in VR.
Yeah, he'll join us, and then you'll just be in the background.
Be like, do this.
You hear Tyler way back there. I decide to climb the crow's nest, and you just say, you hear his brother, all right, we're going to climb the crow's nest.
Nice.
No, I think it's going to be, because, I mean, you think about the people that we've got involved in doing it too. Like, you and John are a little more tame when it comes to, playing out a character, but fucking Chance and Chelsea, those two are going to be a blast to play it with. Monkey is going to be a blast to play it with. Gandhi. I like to think of myself as quite the character when we play Sea of Thieves. Nate's going to be funny to play it with.
Yeah, and there's also another thing. After you do like well, I guess it's like the second part of the starter mission, they give you a brig. Depending on how many people we get, I may change it to where you get a galleon.
Well,
otherwise you have to buy the galleon.
It says that the game is designed for 4 to 6 players, but it also says, I think I read on page 1, that you can play it with as many as you want or as little as you want.
Like, you could modify. You make it a little bit harder to compensate for the extra players.
Or you could maybe compensate for the extra players by, depending on how many we have, splitting them into 2 crews and giving each of them a ship and kind of
have a fleet.
Having a fleet set up.
Might be a little more complicated to run.
Let me go tell you
You'll
one
have
thing about D&D's Dungeon Masters. One of their more hated things. Never split the party.
No, the party's always going to be together, just on 2 ships.
You say that. It doesn't...
Don't make Nate a captain and you're fine.
It just doesn't really work out.
I gotta worry about all you. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but if you pick 2 good captains, they'll stay together. Nate's just going to sail for the nearest island so he can pilot his ship right into it.
That's going to be a challenge 20 with a 2-turn limit. You got to roll me 20 victories in 2 turns.
Nate's going to...
Jesus.
Nate's going to be like, here, use the harpoon to stop the ship. Oh, it's actually going to pull us up and onto the island. Well into it.
Then it'd be like, okay, it's a 16, but you still got 2 turns to do 16 victories.
No, I'm looking forward to it. If I sit down and actually work on it, I could probably import 1 book in about an hour to the game. The problem is, it has to be imported as a deck of cards, and they're one-sided. So the front side is the page, and then the back side is the cover of the book. That's how I'm setting it up.
Yeah.
And then I found a mod that adds a rule book, which is just like a leather-bound book that you can open and flip pages. So you drop the deck in that, and then it lays it out in the book as a book. The only trouble is you can't change the cover on that book, so we'll have to remember which books. We're going to set the books out on the table that we need, and we'll pull from them. We just have to remember which one's which.
Can't name it?
I mean, I might be able to, but you'd have to hover over it and click search or view to see what the name of it is.
Yeah, that's fine.
But yeah, you're saying, you put the rule book in the rule book?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Put the PDFs in there?
So, I have to convert the PDFs to image files. So I have a program on my computer that takes a PDF and it converts all the pages into their own images. And then I import that into the deck builder for Tabletop Simulator.
Hello?
The fuck?
Oh, it's an unknown number. Then that... probably not tonight. We will be streaming Sea of Thieves tomorrow, Black Rose. And then you take that image, and it's capable of making a deck of 70 cards with the 70th, so 69 cards, the 70th is the hidden card or the card back. One or the other. The problem is, these pages are high resolution, so if I import 70 pages, the game crashes. I tried doing 70, I tried doing 45, and it always crashes. The only way I've been able to do it is doing a grid of 4. So you have page 1, page 2, page 3, back, page 4, page 5, page 6, back, 7, 8, 9, back, 10, 11, 12, back, and I have to import them 3 pages at a time. So it takes a while.
Yeah.
That said, they maintain high resolution, so when you bring them into the game and you scale them up to page size, it still looks appropriate. It doesn't look all blurry.
Yeah, that would be good for the deck, because, you give everybody their own deck, and
I haven't checked. That's one thing. I subscribe to the Sea of Thieves RPG that's on Steam's Workshop now, but again, everybody told me it doesn't have the rule book, it doesn't have the pages book, or the missions book. That's what I'm importing, because all the other game assets are in there, I think.
Yeah.
You've got the cards, you've got the weapon cards, the inventory cards, the dice.
Yep.
All that stuff's in there. The books are not, probably because the books are really what you're paying for.
Yep.
When you buy the game, so they didn't put them in there to avoid some sort of copyright or
fair.
fraud claim.
Fair.
That's why I think none of the actual D&D books are in there.
Take care, Black Rose.
Well, that's funny because I think the PHB and the DMG are
The PHB might be
free
in there.
PDFs.
It's not the other ones.
with the DMG, and I think the Monster Manual too are free on the PDFs.
Well, point being, if I can get it all imported, as soon as I get it imported, I'm ready to set up the campaign. Like, I imagine you'll be off and on, kind of reading up and thinking and brainstorming stuff. John's got a copy of it too, so you might get with John on Discord, just message him and say, hey, look, this is what I'm thinking of doing.
Yep.
I mean, we have a...
Like I said, it's not really that bad. Like, we can follow the quest
right.
book to a T, or y'all can go do whatever the hell you want, and I just throw in challenges.
We might do a hybrid of both. Little bit of...
Yeah.
Start with the story and go from there.
Yeah.
Yep. It's pretty much pick your own adventure. I'm just the narrator.
Right. You're going to have to get a voice modulator then that gives you a really... And then the pirates sought after Crow's Nest Fortress.
I don't want to put everybody to
Or-
sleep now.
or one that changes your voice to a pirate. And then the crew sought after the old treasure at Crow's Nest Fortress. But I'm looking forward to doing it on the tabletop simulator, just because the amount of people that we're going to have is going to make it quite an entertaining. I think it's going to be fun to watch too. Like, just watch it unfold from a perspective on the stream.
Yep.
Will be hysterical. And like I said, I think people, especially people like Chance and Gandhi, are going to make it just... And Monkey. I think all three of those people. But we've already got characters. Like, we already have our characters developed.
One thing I would like is a bigger table than what the mod on
That might be possible.
just because, like, I'd like to be able to throw out a larger map and...
Well, you can actually freeze stuff. Like, so you can put it outside, like, away from the table, like in air, and lock it in place. That's what a lot of people that build, like, D&D campaign saves, they'll have the rule books propped up, like, at an angle and frozen, so that you can just flip through them and interact with them, but they won't move.
Yeah, no, but I mean more for your all's benefit. to
Well,
look
yeah.
at.
But it'd still work with a map. You could just have it there and frozen, like, off the edge of the table somewhere, and if anybody needed to look at the map, they could just alt-zoom on it.
Yep.
So it's something to look into, but I just have to import the fucking books, and that gives me a huge headache. Because then I have to make sure all the pages are in order, and then when it's all imported, I have to rename every card in the deck to the page number, so that when it goes into the rule book sorts it the right way. And the reason it can't stay as a deck is because in order to use it, you'd have to sift through an 89 card deck just to find a certain page.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It better be worth the effort.
I hope so. I hope we can get it to work.
I think we can. It's just gonna, like I said, it'll take some. And honestly, like, you have the PDF. It's really not hard to import it. If anybody wanted to help, it would be appreciated. I can tell you exactly what you need to do. Like, as far as the process goes, doesn't take... Importing a page, like setting it up for importing, takes like 3 minutes. You import it into the deck builder, you set your deck up as a 2x2 deck, and then you add a card, and you select 3 cards in the cover. And then it'll lay it out in the deck. You save it, or you export it as a JPEG, and save it as whatever you want to save it as. And you just rinse and repeat that process until it's all done, and then you import it into the game. And the importing process takes the most time, but even then it's probably honestly better to batch convert them, and then import them all at once. I've been doing it batch at a time. I would build a batch, import it, build a batch, import it, build a batch, import it. But I can always walk people through if they want to help and be real champs.
I've got reading to do.
He's got to read. You don't.
What are you talking about?
Helping me import these books into tabletop.
I can't do that.
Yeah, you can.
I don't have a keyboard.
Yeah, you do. I know you do. Don't lie to me. You even bought the protection plan on it in case it broke. You could go back and get another one. Do not lie to me.
I broke 2 of them.
Right. Sure. Sure you did. I bet. I believe you 100% not. Oh, man. Well, I'm starving. I want to get my breaks done. So we're going to leave a couple minutes early. And by a couple, it's only like 5. We're right on the edge. So the chances of us streaming tonight are slim to none. Like I said, I don't want to stream because by the time I think I start, it's going to be time to go. So you can check back, but in all likelihood, it'll probably be tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be streaming the Dark Relics on Sea of Thieves. And hopefully it should be a good time. Hopefully we can actually get a fucking crew.
Hopefully.
So with that, we will see you all, probably not tonight, maybe, but definitely tomorrow. So thanks for hanging out with us, and we will see you next time.